So I want to go carefully through just so that we understand the task. There's not a lot of time, you don't have a lot of time before it has to be done in, although you've already had time in class, and you will get time right up until this is due. And I'm more than happy at the draft level if there's some of it is in dot points, but try and address all of it. We've got the same criteria that we always have to do. So for knowledge, we're thinking about the use of business terms, talking about describing business situations, including examples, so get down to the specific examples or examples from other businesses, and thinking about the management processes that we're talking about here, particularly around marketing. You have to use information from a comprehensive range of primary and secondary sources. Remember, I've said that you can make up your primary data if you would like. Okay, so for example, you might do a little customer survey. Don't actually go out and give it to 100 people. Instead, make some data and use that as you talk about what you're doing. You have to think about the issues for the business. Remember, your marketing plan, you're trying to encourage people to think about investing in this business, showing what an excellent marketing plan you've got, your own business idea. And you have to think about business information and interpreting trends, patterns and relationships. We'll talk about where that'll be some of your secondary data. That might be like population data. It might be some research that you've done on an industry that you're interested in. It might be about some of the data you can find about traditional versus social media. And then finally you get to your evaluating and communicating, right? So evaluating management strategies and making a recommendation. That's going to be really around, is it going to be old style media or social media that you use? And then what evidence are you using to justify that? Significant evidence. And how you communicate. Right? Do you spell like me or do you communicate well? Okay, the business idea is your own. I'm hoping most of you have done pretty well. I've encouraged you to think of something in an area that interests you, maybe future career, maybe a hobby. My suggestion, I do think, when we talk about marketing, niche marketing is probably a little bit easier than a mass marketing approach. So if you find something that appeals to people, because it makes it much easier to talk about target markets, things like that. If you're looking at, for example, a vegetarian restaurant, because you have some really interesting data to look into. You've got some really interesting thinking about what the message is going to be, as opposed to McDonald's, where you're making a mass marketed message. I don't think you can have the same sophistication thinking about theory for that. That would be my suggestion. You're building a marketing plan for this business, and you're presenting to a group of prospective investors. So you're trying to prove that your marketing idea is well thought out. Your focus is on the marketing. You're the marketing manager. So we talk about the different roles of business, or not so much roles of business, the different functions of business. You have marketing, you also have operations management, human resource management, finance, so on. You're the marketing manager. That's your job, is to convince them based on what you've got. So, you're going to do a bunch of research around the business. And we're going to go through some specific things, particularly using census data. We don't quite have last year's census data, but we can go back to the previous year. Some of you in business have already used it before, right? So it's quite a nice process to go and give you some information that you can link up with that with your target market. You're also going to think about the environment. You can think about competitors, and you're going to put that together into a SWOT analysis, maybe a competitor analysis. How do you rate your different competitors on different things? We thought about how you can do that based on price and quality. That might be a way that you do it. And analysis of your target market. Who are your target market and how many of those people are there? So overall, you're going to start by describing the business. What are the marketing strategies that you're proposing for the business and why? Particularly the big one, social media versus traditional media. Use SWOT, competitor analysis, target market analysis, any other analysis that you do to think of any issues that you've got, real issues for your business, and interpret the different information that you're using there. And your big evaluate and recommend, are you going to focus on a traditional or a social media marketing strategy? Okay. And you might use a decision-making table, and we'll look at that to evaluate and make a recommendation there. Justify what you've done. And the conditions, 3 to 5 minutes, multimodal, got to be more than one thing that contributes significantly. 3 to 5 is for the 11s, 5 to 7 for the 12s. And so a simple PowerPoint presentation with spoken spoken script is not enough. It has to be something else that significantly supports it. You don't use dependencies in business management. And you can use charts, tables. In fact, you're encouraged to use charts and tables. And I know just from the exam, a few guys did SWOTs without using a table. I think it is easier to use a table for a SWOT analysis. Your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.